As I said last Sunday, I explored the topic of gratitude leading into Thanksgiving week. It was just perfect. And I shared several quotes from famous authors and spiritual teachers on the subject of gratitude. And I want to follow up with another lesson on the subject because I want to talk about what happens next. What happens after we evoke the power of gratitude? Let's explore that topic this morning. So if you remember last week's lesson, or if you weren't here, I want to share a quote I used last week because I want to build on it. So Paul Williams, this is the one I said was the doozy last week. I'm grateful for everything that has ever happened in my life, the good and the bad, and you roll it into your life. If you're in a car wreck, you're grateful that nobody was hurt. If they're hurt, grateful that they didn't die. If they die, you're grateful for the chance you had to know them. You know, it's an expandable gratitude. One size fits all. Put it in your heart and use it. Expandable gratitude. See, when you can truly go through any experience, no matter how challenging or difficult or breathtakingly scary it may be, and you work your way all the way to gratitude, life becomes very, very rich. Now, I don't want you to misinterpret me, okay? So you might misinterpret me to be saying that I'm just asking you to kind of paste on a happy face and pretend that everything's all hunky-dory when everything's not okay at all. But that is absolutely not what I'm saying. It's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that down through the middle of any life situation, there is a path that leads to gratefulness. And it's often the path not taken, but it's always right there, just waiting for us to choose it. And I'm always amazed when someone can jump straight to gratitude, even in the middle of a heartbreaking situation, no matter how painful. There are those people that can just go right to it. I want to give you an example. So I'm sure all of you are aware, if you watch the news, of the tragic loss of life in Wisconsin last weekend during that holiday parade, right? And it's in a small town of Waukesha, I think you say it. And right in the middle of this joy and celebration, there was a very human experience of unexpected loss, right? Several families had their lives changed forever in that moment by that event. And I was watching some of the coverage of it, and I was particularly moved by an interview with one woman who, I'm talking like in the first moments of the interview, she had shared, that she acknowledged that she had lost this profound loss, but she shifted to gratitude like right then. She started talking about the love of the community that was around her. She started talking about how grateful she was to know the woman that died, that touched her life. And what I know is that her healing process is going to be very different than those who chose the path of vengeance and retribution and blame and bitterness. The path to gratefulness is what she chose, just like that. But sometimes the path can take a while for us to find, right? And it takes even longer to travel it. Because when you're right in the middle of a challenge, sometimes you can't see any path, much less the path to gratitude. And then the path to gratitude starts with one small decision. The decision to heal, the decision to rise, the decision to move on, the decision to let go of anything unlike love. So here's what I know. What I know is that every single one of us in the room has had or is having a challenge of some sort, right? Our challenges usually are not the kind that get on the national news, thank goodness. But nevertheless, they're real to us. They're there for us. It could be a family situation that's difficult. It could be a work environment that's no longer serving you or is kind of painful. It could be a relationship that's kind of crumbling at the edges. It could be a financial situation. You just kind of seem to find your way around, because we've all had or have had some things or many things like that, because we're human. There will always be those things in our lives that can be summed up by that one word, which is pain. All right? And as we're sliding kind of into this holiday season, I know that there are those of us who are not feeling much cheer because they're in the middle of some of those kinds of situations. And sometimes the calendar just doesn't line up very conveniently for us to feel overwhelmed with a feeling of pain. I get it. I get it. So I want to share some thoughts about moving through pain to healing. What I know, as I said, is right in the middle of whatever it is, there's a doorway that leads to breakthrough. There's a doorway leading to hope and healing. And if you can knock on that door, what does the scripture say? If you knock, it shall be opened unto you. But you got to do the knocking, right? But here's what I would need you to know. The door that leads to all the good stuff, it's often labeled with a word or two, right? Sometimes the door that leads to the transformation is labeled with the word forgive, or change, or grow, or heal, or move. Those are some of the labels on the door. And sometimes when we're in the middle of such a challenge, those words might seem too big. But the way out always seems to include one of those words, forgive, or move, or change, or heal. I want to share a secret that's really not so secret, but just the act of lifting your arm to knock on that door signals to the universe that you're ready. You're ready to be done with whatever it is. And if you knock on the door with utter faith that Spirit will open it, you can trust that you will have what it takes to walk through the door and get onto that path of transformation. Find the door, and then that door leads to gratitude. That's the path you're looking for, right? Out of pain, confusion, tragedy, loss, Spirit in some form will always rise. See, what happens is someone or groups of someone's, they receive inspiration from the pain. They get creative in the middle of the pain. Look for what rises up out of the pain. It's sort of like smoke. It's sort of like smoke, like trail of smoke that leads to gratitude. Look for the art that comes out of pain. Sometimes new love rises out of a challenge. New life often takes form in the middle of a painful situation. But look for music, for human connection, generosity. Somebody always said, look for the helpers. Whenever there's something going on, look for who's helping. Turn your eyes and your attention to those things and start being grateful, because each of us have a choice. We either going to focus on the actual pain or loss, or turn towards what rises out of it. Here's the thing. I don't want you to ignore the loss or the pain. Feel it. Feel it, process it, juice it for everything it has to teach you. Everything you can learn from it. Pay attention to that. Feel your feels. Take your time, but don't stay there. Don't stay there. Begin to turn away from the ignorance, the hatred, or whatever it is that's causing the pain. Refuse to get into the chorus. There's going to be a chorus of blame and revenge that might stir inside of you or is being sung all around you. It's fueled by other people. That's choosing fear and staying in the fear. But if you can turn and knock on the door of gratitude, choose to see the love around you in all the forms I just described, art, music, helping, connection, love, whatever. Choose to start on the path. And then the next part is super powerful, okay? So knowing that the door is going to open and you're going to move past this challenge, stop for a moment and give thanks. Reach into that expandable bucket of gratitude that Paul Williams wrote about. Put it in your heart and use it. It's what he said. Look around the situation you're in right now and identify the blessings that are hidden right where you are. Eckhart Tolle is just a profound spiritual teacher. He said it this way: acknowledging the good that you already have in your life is the foundation for all abundance. All abundance. Maybe there's a family member who has been kind of secretly cheering you on to get out of the situation. Maybe there's a particular experience that you had at a job that has given you some skills that you didn't have before. Maybe there's a nurse that you met through your treatment of whatever that comforted you along the way. Or maybe you can realize that you were privileged to walk beside someone who faced the same challenge that you did. There are living angels all around us, and sometimes we get to be that angel too. And I know that all of your situations are personal and unique, so I can't tell you what to be grateful for. You got to figure that out for yourself. But I guarantee if you ask Spirit to reveal your blessings in the situation, they will come to you. Just get out a pen and a piece of paper and start making a list. Open your heart, and your list will grow. And don't be surprised if the very people that irritate the heck out of you get on your list of things to be grateful for, because they're the ones that are challenging you to grow. Don't be surprised that the thing that you think is holding you back will show up on your list because it made you more resourceful. That's expandable gratitude. Make your list. And as your list grows, the air around the situation will begin to lift. Solutions that you couldn't see before might become more apparent. People that you need to help you connect with the resource that you need will show up on your path or offer you suggestions that will help you. Or perhaps the doctor that you've been seeing forever will suddenly come up with a new medical treatment that will help your situation. Maybe a source of funds will show up that you didn't have before. You'll find yourself standing on that foundation of abundance that Eckhart Tolle talked about. The foundation of all abundance. And I don't just mean financial abundance. I mean abundance of all kinds. Abundance of love, abundance of support, abundance of wisdom and answers. Those things will show up. And then you will realize the door to the pathway is standing wide open before you. And then you have a major choice to make. Remember that the door was labeled, right? Your choice will then be to choose to walk through the door of forgiveness, walk through the door of change, of healing, of growth, whatever. Go through the door and move. And don't be surprised if making that choice is hard, and here's why. We build our routines and our structures, our entire lives around the situations we're in, even the challenging ones, right? Sometimes our challenges can become our identities. We become known for the challenges that we're in. Often the stories that we tell socially are all about the challenges. You're going to have to change your story. And sometimes we have many years of our lives invested in the challenge that we really don't want to have anymore. Getting up and out of them and moving through the door of change can be scary because it is a very big thing. It can require a very big change. Am I right? Right? So Michael Bernard Beckwith, Reverend Michael Bernard, says this: gratitude places you in the energy of plentitude. Glow with gratitude and see how awe and joy will make their home in you. The title of my lesson today is Gratitude to Plentitude, because I've got that great news for you. When you release the attachment to the challenge and you're ready to have your identity shift, when you're open to letting go of the story instead of talking about it, talk about gratitude, your vibration in life will rise. It'll rise. And if you've been around here for 10 minutes, you know I talk about let's get our vibration up because we draw better things to us. So I want to give you a real world example, another one. So it seems like the entire world was impacted by the murder of George Floyd, right? Protests, what'd they do? They broke out all over the world around the area where he was killed, but all over the country and around the world. Everyone had to grapple with their internal feelings about police use of force, brutality, and human dignity, and those big, big subjects. And the other day, just like 2 days ago, I was made aware of a new example of love and spirit rising out of that particular painful situation. There was an artist living in New York City by the name of Sule. He goes by Sule. He lived in Soho, in the southern part of town. And he decided to express his feelings creatively. So during the protests, and it was all during COVID too, many of the businesses in Soho had been covered up with plywood to protect the businesses. And Soule, he gathered some artists around him, and he went and painted murals all over that plywood. The city that had been boarded up was now a living art exhibit. And the people were astounded by how beautiful and powerful these images were that these artists captured on the plywood. And so when it was time to take the plywood down and reopen the stores after the protests and after the pandemic had shifted things a bit, they took all that plywood, all those murals, and they put it into a creative exhibit that can be viewed and cherished forever. Just Google it, read about it. It's cool. It's really cool. So I say, out of pain and challenge and discord, there arises beauty and creativity and human connection and harmony. That's just one tiny example. But I invite you to look for those examples in the collective experiences we have, but also in your personal experience. I say look for them because sometimes we can't find the strength and the divine guidance to be that for ourselves. We've got to see it in other people. Because when you rise, your vibration rises and you go up a floor in life, like I talked about, you begin to have a different level of expectation. And when you expect better, more blessings flow. You begin to attract to yourself better and better experiences, more and more blessings. Your magnet becomes more powerful in drawing to yourself better experiences. Why? Because we're sending out better. When you send out better from your own field of influence, when you talk about and think about and choose better and better things, we know what we send out into the world comes back to us. So when we start sending out better stuff, we get better stuff. We become more generous with the world, and the world becomes more generous with us. You know, I said what we talk about, what we talk about. Find sources that will show you the beauty in even the worst situations. That's the gift. That's the gift that we can give each other. When people are talking about something painful, begin to point out, well, what's working in the situation? Where is the beauty and the creativity? And when we're up a level, we see those better. You know, in our Declaration of Principles a few minutes ago, we read them, and the final one is we believe in the eternal goodness, the eternal loving kindness, and the eternal givingness of God to all. When you're on the path out of challenge and into gratitude, that belief becomes realized. Spirit becomes your source of goodness and loving kindness in all forms. It's all about giving thanks in advance. When you're living on the path of gratitude, your thankfulness is not an emotion you feel after something happens. It's actually an energy flowing through you that causes the blessing to be revealed to you, right? The blessings are there the whole time you're sitting in the challenge, but turning to gratitude reveals them, the ever-presence of the abundance of the universe. Turning to gratitude in advance helps you see the good you seek to see. And that's where the plentitude arises, in the land of living in a permanent state of gratitude. See, your relationship with life, your relationship with humanity, the entire world, becomes bigger and wider, and no one else becomes your source of your good. Spirit just uses other people and situations to channel your good to you. Neil Donald Walsh says this: gratitude in advance is the most powerful force in the universe. The bottom line is truly be grateful for everything. There is an entire web of life supporting you in every single moment. Be grateful for the divine creative intelligence that has woven everything together in every single moment, and that is awe-inspiring. So no matter what your challenge may be today, just knock on the door of change. It's before you. Find your blessings in the current situation and make the choice to release your attachment to this and give thanks in advance for all that is to come. I'm going to close with repeating the quote that inspired this entire lesson this morning. Michael Bernard Beckwith: gratitude places you in the energy field of plenitude. Glow with gratitude and see how awe and joy will make their home in you. Join me in a one-sentence affirmation. Today, I am ready to accept the blessings available today and give thanks in advance for an even better tomorrow. And so it is. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.